Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we are taking a look at San Jose Sharks forward Timo Meier. And the drama has continued to be raised ahead of next week's trade deadline, as apparently the St. Louis Blues have put themselves into the running for Timo Meier. Now, this is a report from Frank Saravelli the other day. He said the St. Louis Blues are another team that have entered the Timo Meier sweepstakes. Now, this actually all started a couple of days ago in not the most recent, but a couple of days ago's 32 Thoughts podcast with Jeff Merrick and Elliot Friedman. Really good podcasts for this kind of stuff. And Elliot had mentioned that he hadn't at that time heard anything, but it would be a very interesting argument to make that the Blues should be interested in Timo Meier. We talked about this in our live stream the other day, the Islanders-Penguins game live stream. Make sure to check that out, guys. We have a lot of fun on there, usually at night, so stay tuned for that. But we were talking about how the St. Louis Blues seem like the Winnipeg Jets of this year, right? Yeah, they missed the playoffs this year, kind of a disappointment, but with all that young talent that the St. Louis Blues have, they could very easily not only be a playoff team next year, potentially even a cup contender next year. And if you add a guy like Timo Meier to that equation, well, do they really need those 3 first-round picks they have this year? Probably not. And if you get what I'm saying here, the reasoning for that is because they traded out Ryan O'Reilly and Vladimir Tarasenko. So now they've got their own pick, which is a top 10 pick, and 2 other playoff team draft picks in the first round this year. So kind of an interesting argument now for the St. Louis Blues. Do they decide to keep those picks? It's a really good draft this year. A lot of teams are very much looking at those first round picks as a high valuable asset. Or do they look at it as, well, this can get us some leverage and the ability to acquire a player that can help us in the immediate future, meaning as soon as next season, and that would be Timo Meier. Or, and I haven't heard too much on this recently, but the St. Louis Blues have in the past been tied to Jacob Chychrun. And if they do decide to move out one of those defensemen and you bring in a guy like Chychrun as a part of that top 4, I would say that's an upgrade for the St. Louis Blues. So these are the things that we have to consider. So the first thing we're going to look at is a mock trade for Timo Meier. Yeah, Timo Meier. And so this is my rumor. Now, this is a big trade, and I think a lot of Blues fans aren't going to like the last guy I have on here. But if you're going to try and compete with a Cole Perfetti potentially or a Chaz Lucius in Winnipeg, potentially some really good players in New Jersey, like Alexander Holtz, Shakir Mukhamadullin, you might have to give up this player. So I'm saying right off the bat, don't give up your top 10 pick if I'm the Blues. Keep that pick. Keep that pick and let them have both Toronto and the Rangers' first-round pick this year. Give them 2 picks and Zach Bolduc. And I think a lot of Blues fans are not going to like that. But you have to realize, right? Realistically, you look at your top 6. You've already got Robert Thomas, and you already have Jordan Kyrou down the middle. Again, you never have enough centers, right? But you already have your top 2 centers kind of in line already. So, with Zach Bolduc, yeah, of course you'd love to have a Zach Bolduc on your team, but you don't necessarily need him. And if you were able to bring in a really good power forward guy that can score goals, not to mention, he fits really well with Craig Berube if they do decide to keep Berube. And yeah, you know what? It costs you those first round picks. So potentially 2 guys you would have lost for nothing anyway, in Tarasenko or O'Reilly, could potentially fetch you Timo Meier. And if the Blues are able to pull this off, shout out to the St. Louis Blues GM, because damn, that's a pretty good, interesting trade deadline. It could have been very easy for them to say, listen, Doug Armstrong could have said, listen, we've got our draft picks, let's just keep them and just let it go. No, they are going out there to try and make a move. So that's my mock trade. Let me know what you guys think. But we also have some other guys to go over, because apparently the Blues are not done, as there's been rumors around 3 other players on the St. Louis Blues organization that might lead to a trade ahead of next week's trade deadline. The first one being Ivan Barbashev. He's on the final year of his deal with the Blues, and it just sounds like Barbashev is just going to be kind of what happened with O'Reilly and Tarasenko. and they might be able to get another first round pick for Ivan Barbashev. So it gives even more credence to what they might be looking to do, potentially with a Timo Meier or even a Jacob Chikrin trade. And again, for the latter, for Chikrin, we haven't heard many reports on that in the last 6 months. But again, that is something to look at. That's all I'm saying. Ivan Barbashev's name has come up. Colton Parayko's name has come up. And Torrey Krug. And Parayko and Krug are in a different category because they have long-term contracts. So I could see a couple of teams being interested in those two players. Torrey Krug's deal ends in 2027, and Parayko just signed that extension, so he's going to be here for a long time. Now, the other thing you have to remember here is they both have no trade clauses, which will make things a little bit more difficult if Doug Armstrong does decide to pull the trigger and make that move. But there will definitely be teams interested. The Edmonton Oilers, the Winnipeg Jets, and I could see a team like the Washington Capitals, who only have one defenseman past this season on their active roster. If they're looking to just do a quick retool, then maybe that's the way to go, and maybe bring in a guy like Colton Parayko, who could play alongside John Carlson on the top pair in Washington next season. That could be a pretty quick fix to some of their issues. But with that said, it's going to cost a lot to pick up Colton Parayko in particular. But even if Torrey Krug is available, he could probably fetch them at least a first-round pick and probably another pick as well, or a good prospect. So the St. Louis Blues right now are in a little bit of a weird spot. I would expect them to maybe bring in a new backup, as Thomas Greiss is on the final year of his deal. You can't really move Binnington. His deal is until 2027. So it's going to be an interesting time in St. Louis here up to the deadline. It could be a very quiet, could also be a very active deadline for the St. Louis Blues. So let me know what you guys think down below. What do you guys think of my mock trade for Timo Meier to the St. Louis Blues? Do you think he's a good fit for the Blues? Let me know your guys' thoughts. Thank you so much for watching this video. And guys, stay tuned next Friday, March 3rd at 10 a.m. Eastern. We are going to be doing the Goal Line Hockey live stream trade tracker as we give you the latest on the NHL trade deadline day next week, Friday, March 3rd. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again soon.